Hey metalheads, welcome back to another video, and I'm here to talk about overrated metal albums and metal music that I think is overrated. It's not going to be a top 10 video or anything like that. Just going to be listing off some metal albums I think are overrated. Now you guys don't have to agree with me at all. This is just going to be my opinion, and my opinion only. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start off the video by talking about an album that I don't have on CD yet, and it's going to have to be Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Yes, you heard me correctly. Paranoid by Black Sabbath, and this is easily one of their best albums, if not their best album. Definitely an essential for any metal fan out there in the world, but I can agree to an extent when people say it is an overrated album, but it's still a great album. Just because it's overrated doesn't mean it's terrible or bad, because it's far from being bad. I just think it's overrated. But yeah, the most popular songs on it though are the title track Paranoid, War Pigs, and Iron Man, but it's still a great album, and definitely one of the greatest metal albums of all time. It is overrated, but still great though. Alright, let's go and move on to the rest of the albums, and the rest of these I do have on CDs, so yeah. Next up is going to have to be Slayer's album Rain and Blood, and yeah, a lot of people say this is the best Slayer album, but I strongly disagree with that. I do think it's a great album, however, I don't think it's their best. It's not my favorite by them. It's probably in my top 5 for Slayer, but not in my top 2. But it's still a great album. My favorite Slayer album, though, is an underrated album called Seasons in the Abyss. But yeah, this album here, Rain and Blood, though, is very overrated. Many people say it's their favorite Slayer album. It's the best Slayer album, but strongly disagree when they say it's their best. I understand that's their opinion, but to me, no, it's not their best. Still a great album, though, nonetheless. Most popular songs on this are Angel of Death and Raining Blood, but still a great album. One of their shortest albums as well, but yeah, just overrated. Not bad though. Alright, now the next album, many people would probably agree with me on this because it's one of this band's most popular albums, and I can agree that it is one of their best albums because I do have it in my top 3, and when I done my ranking for this band, I put it in at number 3, and it's gonna have to be Master of Puppets by Metallica, their final album with Cliff Burton due to the bus crash where the bus landed on Cliff Burton at 2 times and it killed him the 2nd time. It's just a sad story, but I do think this is Metallica's most overrated album. Now, people would probably say their album, the Black Album, is overrated, which I can definitely agree to that. Just because the Black Album is my favorite Metallica album doesn't mean that I'm gonna disagree with people when they say it's overrated, because it definitely is overrated, but I didn't feel like including too many albums by the same band within this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with Master of Puppets on this. Still a great album though, of course. Favorites though would be Battery, Master of Puppets, Welcome Home, Sanitarium, Disposable Heroes, Orion, and Damage Inc. Just really great album though, but I can definitely agree though when other metalheads say that this album is very overrated. Still great album though, of course. Definitely essential though, for sure. Okay, up next is actually my favorite album by this band, but I can definitely agree with people when they say it's overrated, and it's Painkiller by Judas Priest. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it is my favorite album by Judas Priest, not just because the title track, but because I think it has some of the best songs and riffs and stuff like that that Judas Priest had ever went in the studio and recorded and gave us. Definitely think it's their best album, easily my favorite album by them. Now, many people would say British Steel is overrated, but I think it's not as overrated as Painkiller, but it's still an overrated album. But I think Painkiller is more overrated though, and that's why this album is making the video instead of British Steel. Still a great album though, and definitely one of the best metal albums of all time. Painkiller by Judas Priest. Overrated, but still great. For sure. Alright, now, the next one will get me some hate, but remember guys, this is just my opinion. I do think this is a great album. Many people have it as their favorite Megadeth album. Yes, it is Rust in Peace. Yes, I do think it's overrated. A lot of people do have this as their favorite Megadeth album when they do rank their albums, and I can definitely see why. I think this is also my favorite Megadeth album, but I'm not really sure because they have some other great albums like Countdown to Extinction and even Peace Sells But Who's Buying. I don't think those other two albums are as overrated as Rust in Peace. I think this is their most overrated album now. It's not bad. I do think it's overrated though, because a lot of metalheads say this is their favorite metal album or their favorite Megadeth album. I can definitely see why it's their favorite, but it is still a great album though. I'm not really sure if it's my favorite by them, but it is definitely in the top 3 though, along with the other 2 that I just mentioned. Still a great album though. Just because this album is overrated and overpraised by other people, it doesn't mean it's bad. I do love this album a lot, but my only flaw though is the song Dawn Patrol, but the rest of the album is great. But yeah, this is album by Megadeth, Rust in Peace. Great album though, for sure though, and another essential metal album for anyone that is into metal. Alright guys, just a few more left, but up next is going to have to be my favorite album from this band, and it's going to have to be no other than The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. I know this was one of my first ever Iron Maiden albums. I don't remember if it's the first album I ever bought from them on CD. I believe it was. I don't really remember because it's been a couple years. But yeah, this is still a great album though. I do think it's overrated because many people have this album within the like top 5 or even top 3. Even though this is my favorite album by them, I'm gonna admit to you guys, I do think it's overrated. Great stuff though, for sure. Favorites on there would be Children of the Damned, the title track, The Number of the Beast, of course, Run to the Hills, Hallowed Be Thy Name, and yes, this is actually the remaster. Comes with the sleeve thing, just slide it right back in there. And it actually has a song that wasn't even including on the original version of the album, and I believe it was the song Total Eclipse. Be sure to comment down and let me know, guys, if I'm wrong. But yeah, this album is still great though, but definitely agree with those who say it's overrated for sure. Alright, next one is also by Iron Maiden, and it's gonna have to be their latest album, The Book of Souls. I'm sorry guys, but I definitely agree with my subscriber and viewer Zach D Productions when he says this album is overrated, because I definitely agree with him because it just gets way too much praise. So yeah, definitely a shout out to Zach D, because he says this album is overrated, and I can't disagree with him at all. I can't disagree with Zach at all because he's right. It is overrated. It's just a way too long album. Album is way too long, way overrated. And I'm not saying it's bad because it's not my favorite by Maiden or anything, because like I just said not long ago, The Number of the Beast is easily my favorite by them. Their other albums are great too, I'm just saying. But yeah, this album is overrated. The Book of Souls by Iron Maiden, it's not bad, it's just a long album, probably their longest album, and just way too much overrated. So, other than that, The Book of Souls by Iron Maiden. Alright, next is going to have to be Far Beyond Driven by Pantera. And now, I know people would say either Cowboys from Hell or Vulgar Display of Power is overrated. And maybe I can agree to that, I'm not really sure. But I do think Far Beyond Driven is probably their most overrated album because it sold the most copies out of all of their albums, I believe, because I believe it debuted at like #1 on the chart or something close to that. So yeah, I do think it's an overrated album. Still great, but overrated at the same time. Definitely a classic though, for sure. And one of my favorite groove metal albums of all time. Not my favorite Pantera album, but it is my second favorite. My favorite being Vulgar Display of Power. Alright, and last but not least is no other than Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold. Yes, this is my favorite Avenged Sevenfold album. You guys already know that for those that saw my rank it all for Avenged Sevenfold. This has been my favorite A7X album for a while now, ever since I got into the band, but I must admit, there is other metalheads that say this is the best thing that Avenged Sevenfold has released, saying it's their favorite album. I can agree when they say it's one of their best, but just to say it's the best thing in the world, I can't agree to that, even though it is my favorite album by Avenged Sevenfold. So yeah, it is overrated, but still great stuff. But other than that, that's going to wrap it up for this video of overrated metal albums. Let me know which albums you guys think are overrated, even if it's none of the albums that I didn't mention in this video. I'll still want to know which albums in metal that you think are overrated, because all 9 of these albums here, I think they're all great, but I can agree that they are overrated. Still great material here too. Great bands, great albums. Go check them out if you haven't already. But yeah, other than that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Take care, stay metal, rock on, and yeah, take care and peace.